This week we're having two episodes of God Save the King because Darth Killhoon was busy yesterday, so I didn't expect Lavender to get back to me. In all honesty, thanks for coming on, Lavender. By the way, uh, yeah.
And
So
special double feature, making up for last
Mm-hmm.
it's
week.
just is it gotta turn off the stream. No, I always forget to do that. Always have it running in the background just in case there's any screw ups on my end, so I can make sure there's no screw ups.
All right. So what's on the agenda for this episode?
I don't.
Besides just
I don't know. I was gonna write stuff down, but I was really tired today, and I was cleaning. I was cleaning my house all day.
I mean, we kind of got a snippet of like who I am in that very short episode a couple weeks ago. So I just to kind of start us off. So I guess I'm like the only one of the few Catholics you invite on.
No. I've had a.
I'm kind of one.
Yeah, I mean, Hapa's Catholic, technically. Nation is Orthodox, and weirdly enough, Nate is actually a practicing. Apparently, there is still practicing. Anglican. He's a practicing Anglican. I was like, wow, I've never met a practicing Anglican. You guys still exist?
Oh, I mean, in England, I think it's like what 3% of their population are still practicing Anglicans.
Well, yeah, he's actually a very devout Anglican. He's like a very devout Anglican Christian. So it's like he will. Well, the few people I know who will argue Anglican, the Anglicans are actually right. I'm like, okay,
What?
it's not. Well, no, yeah, he fully is a very devout Anglican Christian.
I know. Actually, there's this other YouTuber called the Politicrat where he's actually an open Anglican too, and I'm just like, what the hell?
Yeah,
And
I've
but
noticed like a lot of British monarchists are either Catholic, Anglican. There's another big Orthodox guy called. I tried to get him on, but he didn't return my messages. Crown Pilled, he's Orthodox as well. It's mainly, if I polled my audience, which is usually around 100 to 200 people a week, 5 to 10 people live, depending on the person. It's usually, I would say it's mainly Catholic and Protestant and Orthodox. Someone mixed, probably more Catholic than Orthodox. I've noticed. Though is a good Protestant. I know I have one guy who follows me who's like a Jew, so that.
getting those Semites in there too.
I guess Lavender follows me. He's Muslim, but yeah, I've noticed that a lot of you seem like you see like all the Protestants are like National Socialists or fascists, all the Catholics and Orthodox guys like, okay, at one point we were fascists, now we're just moved further right to monarchism.
I mean, like if you're talking about like the Italian fascists, like mostly members of the Italian fascist movement were practicing Catholics, and many of them were also monarchists too, while being fascists. That's why mostly didn't go full ham with just deposing Victor Emmanuel.
Well, Victor Emmanuel fully still got screwed in the end by associating with Mussolini.
Yeah, and he also got fucked with. I mean, just by the CIA too. Us rigging their referendum to support the Republic. That's a whole big debacle.
His descendant actually lives in the United States.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the claimants, I think there's two claimants actually of the Savoy line. Yes, one of them is in L.A. and famously he operates a pasta company. A good Italian man.
Also, funny enough, I think the most direct claimant, he doesn't want it because it's a different line of the Romanovs. Actually, lives in L.A. and it actually I think is a congressman. There's a Romanov who serves in
Hmm.
Congress. He's a liberal though, so he will never get the crown for being a liberal.
Oh yes. If Baron von Ungern Sternberg, God, I forget his name sometimes. Liberalism does not should not have any place in Russia.
The old bloody baron. Funny enough, also, weirdly, every political dissident just ended up in the U.S. Let's see who else lives in the U.S. It's like when I'm probably gonna next video I'm gonna make is who should be king of the U.S. and I was gonna go over like there's a lot of actual people to choose from that live in the U.S. because the king of Greece's descendants live in the U.S. But I'm like,
Mhm.
if you really want to be spicy, you could make the Shah of Iran's descendants the king of the U.S.
I mean, when in
funny
doubt,
thing.
just when in doubt, Habsburgs.
Oh yeah, when in doubt. Funny thing though, I actually like my stepmother introduced me into an Iranian monarchist living here in the States. He's actually like a pretty chill guy. Also served in the U.S. Army like myself. Um, so we get along, except for he's Muslim, and of course I'm Catholic, but we kind of are like.
Well, one of the interesting things about the Iranian the Shah is one of his titles was King of the Aryans. I'm like, ha! I'm like, that's either that's just epic trolling or that's I'm like, nah, actually, we
Now,
are the true Aryans. I am King of the Aryans. I'm like, yeah, you tell those Germans.
yeah, tell them. Um, speaking of a bunch of political descendants being in and dissidents being in the United States, funny thing, my family actually was part of that because we didn't recognize the Weimar Republic's legitimacy. Um, uh, so we had to flee Bavaria and go to America. It was and join some of our family that was already over here. It was a shit show, but
I forget who. There's a
I mean,
Romanov in the U.S. The Italian royal family lives here. The Iranian royal family lives here. Uh, yeah, it's the whole thing with who should be king of the United States, which should be the next video I make is who should be king of the United States. I honestly don't even say an American claimant. I say the direct descendant of King George, who is
mhm.
king of is the current Prince of Hanover.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting claimant. If I had like complete dictatorial ability and able to reshape America, I'd probably make it into an HRE mirroring system where you have a bunch of local monarchs and then you have the electors elect the emperor from the
Nah,
princes.
I'm not. Yeah, the American Holy Roman Empire. Look, I'm particular to making the American. I think we need an American. The same reason, I'm going to make that video, but I'm definitely not going to determine it's the Romanov because, it makes sense. A Protestant, a country being ruled that is 2% Orthodox, being ruled over by that's like 98% Protestant. Well, it's like 90% Protestant. I forget this. It's like
I mean, I think in current US, technically, actually, Catholicism is the largest single religion in the U.S. But if you include all the Protestants together, they make up like 50 some percent.
I mean, the majority of the U.S. is Christian.
Yeah.
Like,
Although, if you ask me, I don't even consider Protestants Christian.
ooh,
Yeah.
Man,
that's an interesting debate to have.
Yeah.
Because, like,
I'm quite an absolutist
yeah,
on that one.
Yeah, they're fairly, yes, they're offshoots and don't practice the same way and whatnot, but they still have the same sort of general concept.
I would say it would really depend too, like on the sect of Protestantism. I don't consider any of them legitimate, but I would say, of course, like the High Church Lutherans, it's like at least you guys have some of the sacraments, but you're still not legitimate. Then go to the Anglicans, are like you're appointing female bishops, that's illegitimate. Go to the Baptists, where they don't even have apostolic succession at all, and it's like not legitimate. Also, they
Yeah.
took books out of the Bible too, so how can you
Yeah.
claim sola scriptura without all the books?
Yeah.
Well, at least we never got Anabaptists. Those people were insane.
Oh God, I
Yeah,
actually know some.
Wait, there's still Anabaptists? I thought
Oh,
that
well,
I thought people
mostly
killed them all.
Anabaptist.
I thought they. Sorry.
Oh, I'm just gonna say most of the Anabaptists are like the Amish and Mennonites in the United States, because that's what they are. They're all Anabaptists.
Oh, that's what those people. That's what the Amish and Mennonites are. Oh, I
Yep.
guess they got a lot less crazy over the stop declaring random people. Hey, that is there any descendants of John of Leyden?
Sir John of Leyden. I don't get that reference.
Ah, man, no one gets. I guess you would have had to read Gene Bone's 6 Books of the Commonwealth to get that. Basically, John of Leyden was a Anabaptist leader who was declared king of the city of Munster. Basically, the Anabaptists got so powerful in this one city, they declared this random dude their king, and then they besieged, and it's funny because a lot of the early Anabaptists were straight up believed in things you would associate with like communists and
well, most Amish are like a type of like I don't know, right wing socialism, I guess.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it was right wing communitarianism, but yeah, basically John of Leyden declared himself king, and then I forget what Leyden is. I think it's in Denmark, and basically they besieged the city for 2 years, and they also there was also the the 1600 Protestant Reformation had a lot of really weird components of just weird sects of Protestantism that flared up and then died out in the most random areas. I'm like,
or they came to the United States.
mostly came to the U.S. The U.S. has a lot of weird Protestant denominations that ended up here.
It was all the rejects, and all the rejects spread. That's what happened. I mean, like the Puritans were like essentially Calvinist Anglicans that didn't agree with having any apostolic succession or sacraments, and also they were like, I guess, Bible Puritans as well, where they had a very strict interpretation of very specific things in the Bible. But yeah, even though they didn't have all the books either, so. It's weird. A lot of these Protestant sects, like Quakers, technically there are Quakers still around, but
no, they're still very big in PA. Like PA has a massive Quaker population. They're all very nice people. Very nice people.
It's the Shakers who are going.
Yeah, they're gone.
Extinct.
Yeah, the Shakers are pretty much gone these days. Because PA was basically founded by Quakers, and they're all very nice people. The pacifists. But they won't unless you assault them, then they'll beat the living shit out of you.
Yeah, I find that weird. Like the farther you get away from like I would say like Catholicism, when it at least comes to Protestantism, like say Adventists, Quakers, etc. They were very pacifistic when all the rest of when Catholicism and Orthodoxy like do have warrior codes and stuff inside of it. So I just find that interesting. The farther you get away from the sacraments, the more you become pacifist.
Oh yeah, hey 21st century
longest.
I get some of the people watching this, but I guess every man a king. Why not just have a king? That makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's technically it can be called a monarchy.
Yeah,
as long as like every single house is an individual state.
Ooh, that game. You mean my crazy ideology I came up with is called individualistic nationalism. No. This is a joke, but let me pitch it to you. Every person themselves is a nation, even the children, and you have to negotiate in that fashion with each other. You can also declare. You can also randomly just kill each other as long as you declare an act of war against other people.
Yes,
Uh,
but you need to cast a spelly.
Yep. He dishonored my daughter. I'm now annexing his house.
I actually really do like Huey Long. It's sad that FDR had him assassinated. Yes, I believe FDR had him assassinated because he was going to win the next election over FDR. And unlike
Mhm.
FDR, he wasn't a. He actually really liked the United States and wasn't a closeted communist.
Yeah. Funny thing, I'm also working on an alternate history series. And I actually have Long like survive longer, and he becomes like a major thorn in the side of FDR for longer, and FDR can't get through his New Deal plans. So
Yeah.
it's a little. I don't make him do like the full civil war like you see in Kaiser Reich because
Okay,
that's
that
just
makes
stupid.
no sense. Like Huey Long would never start a civil war. Like, sorry, some of these things that people make like historical figures do, like Huey Long is not a fascist. He's a, at most you could call him like a centrist populist, if that's really a thing.
I mean, yeah, he was definitely in the populist strand. I mean, you can kind of consider all American politics as somewhat populist by nature because they always have to appeal to democratic consensus, just like Athens. And guess what happened to Athens? Oh, right.
Didn't end well, but yeah, it's
I found my dad's expensive hearing aid. Oh, hey, Micah.
oh, one second. Okay, sorry, that Darth Killhoon's talking to someone. But yeah, like Huey Long, like I tried playing Hearts of Iron sometimes. Like all my friends always like when I used to be more of a libertarian. I used to play Hearts of Iron with a bunch of my crazy friends I played D&D with. I miss those guys. I wish we should get back in contact with those guys.
Yeah,
Mine's me.
I've played a fair bit of it as well. Never had anyone to play with, but
Yeah, that would be the next thing we start doing on this shit. We're just gonna start doing ridiculous
44 live streams.
ridiculous horror for live streams. Orthodox.
Of course, we'll have to play Kaiser Reich.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Mhm.
Of
Yeah,
course, the United States becomes an Orthodox. The Orthodox American Iron Guardism makes sense. Why not? Yeah, but a lot of people like interesting enough. People like to say the World War II consensus, and I was getting into this with Lavender, but like a lot of this, it's not the really World War II consensus. Like that solidified this, that became just made everything more or less further. Sorry.
yeah. I'm also in the same boat. I play a lot of Hoi 4, but I have nobody to play with. So it
Yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't help to have such a crappy computer. Just slows it down for everyone.
yeah, that was my first computer. Was I was playing like an old Athlon processor. So yeah, no, the game after 1939 was just like an out. Every single hour in the game took like a couple seconds to load.
Oh,
Yeah.
and I
Now,
thought my situation was bad.
well, now I have I bought a pre-built with an 11th gen Intel in it and a 1660 Super, so it's like it plays it very well now.
Uh,
I
I've got literally the cheapest laptop that I could buy at Best Buy that wasn't made in China.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm kind of done with laptops. I don't know. I keep my old one around in case like I need to do like office work on the go, but yeah, a desktop guy now.
Yeah, and I definitely want a desktop. I just need something cheap.
Mm-hmm. Like I got mine actually at Costco. Like Costco, they don't have many pre-builts, but they typically have one gaming rig. Actually, that's where I got mine. And it was for $850 on sale. It's normally for 1,000. Yeah,
Yeah,
I got
that's-
into big tech. I got into tech like in the last 2 years. So now I'm like the guy that like looks at Newegg and is like, "Come on, is there a graphics card that's actually for a decent price?" And I'm like, "Do I even need it? No, I don't need it, but I want it."
yeah. I got into tech a few years ago, but like tech circa 1900.
I mean, hey, that's what most people are playing like the early like COD and Halo on.
Ah, yes, Call of Duty World War One.
Yeah, Jesus. Well, COD won. I mean, they did Call of Duty ever go into World War One? I don't think so.
Oh, I don't know, 1900, close enough.
Yeah. um.
Oh, I just have my new pet. Ow, ow! Stop it, Kadrianu! Ow! In the right on the neck. He's just a kitten, so he's very small. I
mhm.
did. Yeah, I named the cat after the leader of the Iron Guard.
Nice. I actually don't know enough about the Iron Guard. That's like something I need to get into. Just so obscure in the West.
Yeah, it's everyone in the Orthodox. Everyone who's Orthodox has read it. I've got. It's actually what I got all my friends for Christmas. Is a copy of it.
Hmm.
Yeah. With the tiny kitten claws. Stop clawing. Ow, ow, ow.
Aw.
You just
I
walk around. You just
I
walk
have
around
an
my
old
desk now.
I have an older Russian blue cat, so the breed of cat that was canceled from cat competitions, and he's super chill. He'll just come and lay on my lap for like hours and fall asleep.
Kadrian is only like he's only like 3 weeks old, so you know he's very small.
Yeah, we've only got
Off the mouse.
one of my mom's cats left, and she hasn't been doing so great lately.
Yes.
Yeah, she's getting to the end of her time.
Yes, this the Monarchist podcast is now talking about cats. And you just jumped onto my bed. Okay, have fun with that.
Cats are a monarchist soul animal. Don't you know?
And
we like
dogs.
we like.
I'd argue dogs are better.
No,
Well,
the queen usually has
They're
cats.
more loyal.
I mean, they are more loyal, but like the cat, it's the ultimate embodiment of our politics. Is like ultimately at the end of the day, we just want to be left alone and let the king govern.
Libertarian monarchist gang.
I mean, most monarchists had a libertarian faith. I know I did.
Yeah,
I
the myth of the there's no libertarian to alt-right pipeline, just a libertarian to monarchist pipeline.
Yeah, we'll just ask our Lord and Savior Curtis Yarvin about how it happens.
Post-libertarian thought. Yeah, it's funny that like you see like liberals like Glenn Greenwald posting like reposting like Grey Mirror articles. I'm like, okay, that's weird.
It's like Normie Cons. You realize that Curtis Yarvin is a monarchist, right?
Like no, Glenn Greenwald is like this leftist, like famous leftist journalist that he reposts. Like, it's like yeah, actually, Curtis Yarvin is mainly why it's like you do realize we don't like gays.
Yeah. Jesus. It astonishes me. I think like I think Academic Agent was talking about it, and then Aaron McIntyre today were talking about it, but like there was this leftist journalist that actually like did a fairly well done and like not a hit piece on Curtis Yarvin and the new right in general. It was kind of
Well, but,
interesting.
I don't like people with all these new terms, new right, old right. Let's just call it the right. Like, we don't need any more.
The true right is
I
what I
already
prefer to
gave up.
use.
I already tried that one. The true right.
Yeah, I consider if you're not a monarchist, you might as well be a leftist, in my mind.
I mean, I don't know. My friend, you know, I know Tumblr House had a had a video on anarcho-monarchism. I'm like, it's just feudalism.
Yeah, it's literally just modern day feudalism. Which, I mean, that's actually what like Ancapistan would devolve into. Like it would just turn into a feudalistic state because
Eh,
all the property owners would become the
Well,
feudal lords.
you see, this is the thing is that's why that comes the post-libertarian thought. So Hop is just we're gonna get we're gonna create Ancapistan, and then we're gonna create absolute monarchy because one guy's just gonna be more successful than everyone else,
I mean,
and he's
yeah,
gonna be declared king.
like whoever owns the land controls it.
I mean, yeah, that's a very I would say that's a secular way of looking at monarchy. I'm more like I like to look at the more religious side of monarchy, like where I kind of derive a little bit from Evola, where he talks about like the differences of the castes, and he points out examples like how the king is normally the head of the warrior caste, but then in some civilizations he's head of both the warrior and priestly caste, and that's typically what makes a monarch. A monarch is who is head of the warrior caste at the end of the day.
Yeah, I really have to start figuring out how you use Restream on Odyssey.
I could not say. I have not even dampered. I'm not touched Odyssey yet. Probably will soon though.
Yeah, my the one guy who I kept getting copyright strikes for having him on uh what's his name, Godman's Un, who is that guy's a very odd person.
Yeah,
My co-host really likes him, but I'm like, you are like, he makes a lot of videos on monarchism, the Russian Civil War, and he's like a Jewish National Socialist.
okay, buddy. That's what I say to that.
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
he's a friend of mine now, so I can't really like.
I mean, I actually do. Like I said, I went through a libertarian phase, but like the libertarian phase was kind of like my first phase. Then I went to like normie conservatism when Trump popped up. And then I kind of went into NatSoc, which I kind of always was drawn to it when I was younger. I still kind of like the aesthetics of like the Wehrmacht, but I'm not a wereaboo anymore. And then it was like the drift into like clerical fascism because I was like, well, if we derive our principles from religion, why do we keep on sidelining religion? And then, well, just naturally to monarchy after that too. Kind of like the same story that you guys were talking about the other day. I was like, oh, this is literally me.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
I was sort of progressive left from like becoming interested in politics until about 1 year into Trudeau being in power, and just watching him fuck everything up.
I mean, I kind of point that out to just the crumbling of the managerial system because we used to have like back in the day these kind of like neoliberals that were mostly founded around FDR that wanted to create a managerial state, and they were very good at what they did, very good at controlling the population and the discourse. But then, as the generations progressed, they just instead of having those initial innovators of the managerial state, now you had the inheritors of it, and each generation has slowly decayed that managerial system. That's why they're having to become more authoritarian instead of using soft power these days. Like that new board of misinformation, aka the Ministry of Truth, that the Biden regime is creating. Like,
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah,
yeah,
and
it's
like
not going to convince anybody really.
Trudeau
well,
wanting to censor the internet and stuff here.
mm-hmm. I mean, technically, I do. I would say I would actually agree with the state has the right to reserve those rights to censor media, but not in a leftward direction. I would agree with it in principle because I would do it if I was like chancellor under a emperor, right? Censor left wing and liberal propaganda.
I
But
mean,
I don't
I think
support the left doing it.
I think the reason the right doesn't have the temptation to do it as much as the left is because we really know that the left wing arguments suck. They really do suck. Like there's really, like I was once arguing with my family members, and I was arguing that it's like I think it was one of my siblings. I have a large family, and I says like, what's the difference between someone having sex with someone for a position in a company, and then being a prostitute? She's like, well, there's a difference. I'm like, there isn't though. Like you're both exchanging money or services. Like you're exchanging something of value. Like people really who are liberal can't understand that these that two things to like that is basically the same thing. It's like sex work and then screwing a dude for a movie part is no different.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's I can't really bring that argument up to my family because they're all a bunch of like normie cons. So they'll always like point to the Constitution, and we just need to bring back the Republic, and we just need to win this election, and it's the like Steve Turley effect, and it's just like there's honestly not a whole lot of convincing them that this system is designed to be against them, not and there's that these institutions are not neutral; they are staffed by people who hate you, and because of the institutions in the system are there naturally it is hard to reform. Also, the United States system is by its nature nearly impossible to reform.
Well, the issue I see with a lot of people who take that, well, not that approach, but like the approach that the U.S. is bad, we should look to like Russia or anything like that. They're like Russia and Europe are objectively worse for dissidents. Like in Europe, you will be jailed for what you believe. In Russia, you will be killed. In China, you will be killed. Like if you tried to be Steve Turley, lol. I don't know who that is, so I can't.
He's literally like the guy that was saying like Trump is going to like come back like all the way in like April after the election. He's that guy. He's like the optimistic prophet of the right wing, and all of his predictions always end up failing. But he has a huge following, and he gets like a bunch of these normie cons to subscribe to his channel. That's why he's got like
Oh,
500,000.
no, I know that guy's Doctor Steve Turley. I
Yep.
kind of like one of his videos, which is which goes into the fact that religious people have more children and how because of that, the right will just eventually win anyways.
It's like, okay, Steve Turley. I kind of like I go to the distributist when and his counter argument on that one where essentially it won't matter even if you breed them out because they will take your children. So,
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
you need to. That's why you don't send your kids. Like people who send like, why did my kid and come home with a bunch of piercings? Like you let them go to college.
I
Yeah. I mean, I'm in college now. Granted, there's 2 more years to go, but I haven't gotten any piercings.
Hopper, if you come on this podcast as a raging homo, I will fly all the way to Canada. I'm gonna beat your ass.
Got a lot of land to search there, buddy.
Yeah, I know. It's bigger than the U.S. and most of it's uninhabited, filled with moose. Nothing but moose.
Yeah, if Canada still had the old red ensign flag and not the gay leaf flag,
I
I'd be more
actually,
open to it.
as soon as we had that like a discussion on this podcast, because a Hopper Nation of Canadian, I have it behind me, the red ensign. I also have a bunch of other contradictory flags that people
Yeah,
a bunch of my room live like, what are you? I'm like, you just see all these flags, all of them. I have the ideology. I just want to see if anybody ever docks me or doxes my room. Like, Yeah. I'm a National Socialist, Neo-Byzantium, Canadian Nationalist, Confederate, Iron Guard, Black Hundred supporter. That
I,
makes
I, s-
sense.
I support everything against the current system.
I usually have one up, but I just moved, so I don't have it up yet.
hmm I have like I'm fairly consistent more with my flags. I have like the Imperial German tricolor. I have the Imperial German war flag. I have the Kingdom of Prussia's flag. I have the Kingdom of Bavaria's flag. I have Austria's flag. I have the Army Engineer flag, which actually is like we are like the based monarchists of the military because we are kings of the castle. We call ourselves, and we use a castle as our logo. uh, um, what other flags do I have? I have a few others. But they're in storage.
Yeah, I have the. I think I have the kingdom. I think I have the Holy Roman Emperor one. The kingdom of the kingdom of the kingdom of the King Austria-Hungary. I have that one. I have the Kriegsmarine flag from World War II. I don't have just the one with the Haken Cruise. I've got the actual Kriegsmarine flag, which is way cooler than the actual one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the Ukrainian flag, but I'm like, I'm mainly Ukrainian by birth, but I'm not getting involved in that. It's like I find it weird to fly I mean I have much as like I don't find a contradiction flying but having a bunch of monarchist flags hanging up, but or like other flags hanging up, but I don't have other countries flags. I
Mm-hmm.
forgot. I can't remember if I know it. No, I do have a Union Jack.
um, well, when it comes to Ukraine, I mean, like I did like a whole like 3.5 hour podcast with alt monarchist, which actually he's also a Russian Orthodox monarchist in the United States, but he spent a year in the Donbass region. Um, uh, and he lived out there. So it was good seeing actually getting his insight when I did an interview with him.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of friends. I have some friends who are Bantuists, and they just don't like Russia whatsoever. Like Ukrainian Bantuists hate Russia too. Like they
Mhm.
hate Russia, they hate They really do dislike modern Bantuists. Really don't hate Poland, but Stefan Bantu himself hated Poland and the Polish and the
Hmm.
Gypsies because
I can agree with the gypsies part.
like it's weird, but if you like anti-gypsy sentiment, is that just no one like them? I'm like,
Literally nobody likes them.
it's like, oh, nobody likes you.
Yep. I mean, you'll get some shills, but most of them are, of course, from the left for the poor gypsies. But even like the left in Europe, like they hate gypsies.
Look, even a woman I knew, she said she's like a liberal, and she's like, those gypsies steal from you. I'm like, okay, like the entire political spectrum is united on the gypsy question.
Uh, I saw this funny meme of like we we should create a a nation for the gypsies so we can deport them all there.
Wouldn't that just be sending them back to India?
Yeah, I forget which region of India though.
Just wherever. India, like there's nothing really, nothing interesting is ever going on in India.
I mean, the fact that the princes are now demanding more political rights in India, and that's something.
Yeah,
And
but like,
Modi is kind of supportive of it too.
but they're Hindus.
Yeah, they are Hindus.
It's like Lavender. I'll tolerate because I like because he at least talks about it. And I can at least have a discussion with a Muslim somewhat about similar things we believe. But look, there's no common ground I can find with right wing Hindus. I'm like, no, sorry, I'm not. No Savitri Duvall, no lightning in the sun, none of that. We are
No,
not doing.
No Carl Yuga. No.
No, that is the most annoying thing on the right. I hate that. I hate neo pagans. They're super annoying. They don't even really like.
Yeah, I agree.
I like. They don't even really believe. Like very few of them like believe in the actual gods that. Because I asked the guy once, I was like, "Do you believe that Odin can make himself manifest on the material plane and affect the world around you?" He's like, "It's just ancestor worship." I'm like, "No, it is not. Woden is believed a very specific thing. So did Hellenicists. And it's always Wodenism. Even if they're not German, it's Wodenism."
Mhm.
Oh, I know someone like that, and he's the weirdest motherfucker. Like he spent a year in high school in a psychiatric ward, so
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, it does appeal
always
to
wore a
those.
trench coat. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it does kind of appeal to social
Edge.
outcasts to try to appeal to something. Oh, I'm being edgy because I'm not going with the status quo of my parents. I'm going to worship the same religion as my ancestors, even though your ancestors were fucking conquered by Christians. And like pagans also claim like might makes right, but it's like but the Christians conquered you. So doesn't that
Yeah.
make Christians right?
Well, look, it's most of Scandinavia voluntarily converted to Christianity. So did Russia. Was convinced. What's his name? One of these. I always forget his name. One of the first like king of Kievan Rus was convinced of all. He was brought before an imam, a Jew, an Orthodox Christian, and the Orthodox Christian made the best argument. This was the 10th century, so there was no Catholic Church. This
Well,
was
there wasn't a schism yet of
there
the
was
unified church.
yeah, there was just the unified church. So yeah, there
And
was.
I mean Catholic just means universal too, and like the early church fathers said that they were part of the Catholic Church because it was
Yeah.
universal. Everybody was part of it. There's no this church, that church, all these
Yeah, we
hundreds of
actually
church.
in Orthodoxy, the real name of the Orthodox Church, we just say Eastern Orthodox, but it's it's one holy Catholic and the one holy Catholic Apostolic Church. It's a hard word to pronounce. I screwed up in prayer. I'm like, okay.
And of course in Roman Catholicism I mean technically I consider Eastern Orthodoxy and Roman Catholicism like they're both founded by Christ. It's just we split for a lot of political reasons. But of course in Catholicism we just say one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. So
we stay the same.
yeah. I mean that's because we are like Rome has always recognized the Orthodox bishops as legitimate. All their sacraments are legitimate. We at least this I'm talking about from the Roman perspective. Like so
I think we don't practice open communion. We know we don't. Because we've I've had that experience where like Ukrainian Catholics come to church and they're like we just we don't like we will like some priests won't do, but my priest is just straight up like, "You're not baptized, you're not
no communion.
you go no
I mean technically like yes, Rome that's still Rome's stance, but it's a lot of the individual priests during the baby boom generation, the ones that came in at that time. Of course, they were like all boomers and wanted to change things up. Oh, we can give communion to unbaptized, yada yada, and it's like you're seeing a lot of like modern, like younger priests in the Roman Rite today,
well
like
yeah
deny communion to non-baptized and non-members.
yeah that is actually the interesting thing. Like the older priests are actually the more liberal ones. Like the younger priests are actually more conservative. Like people like I think a few of them said Generation Z. It's a specific subset of Generation Z that's extremely conservative, and it's not like just conservative. It's like I'm going to basically I'm going to if you disrespect the flag, I'm gonna beat you to death with a Bible.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like What? What is that right wing? But yeah, with the whole conservatism, like that's like I agree with the Orthodox. That's like yes, we did liberalize around Vatican II because that's most of the clergy were, I would say, in the liberal mindset. But in today's world, it's like you're seeing the younger clergy be more of like, oh yeah, well we're going back to Latin, guys. We're going back to the the true the true tradition.
I mean, I go to a Greek church, so most of it's in Greek. So I'm like, and Greeks are very, very Greek. It's
Yeah,
like, it's like, it's like Poles being really, really Catholic. Like, I've never met a non. Every Greek I know is very much Orthodox. They're all.
bring back the papal tiara. Yeah, yes, I agree. If you watch the Young Pope movie, I mean not movie show, like that's actually like the first thing like the fictional Pope does because he's a younger Pope and like everybody in the Catholic Church knows that once the younger clergy get into those positions, you're gonna start seeing those things brought back um uh, into open practice again.
Yeah, and Orthodoxy in the United States, we a lot of the like it's like people's like the Greeks are super liberal. I'm like, they're really not. It's like the Greek just says dumb things constantly. Just a few bishops say really dumb things. I've never really met anybody in Goik who's pro homosexual. Like I didn't go. I should have really gone. My church, the church I go to, was at March for Life. Like every Greek church goes to March for Life. They're not pro homosexual. The Greek Orthodox Church and the American Orthodox Churches both said these are the Orthodox stances on morality, on divorce, on same sex marriage. We have the same views that we've always had on the subject. I think people are just because Rocor is all like, yeah, there's some like they expect like like they want the priest to come out and be like, and this is why democracy is terrible. We need to return to monarchy. I'm like, come on, man. The Orthodox perspective is the church is a political institution, but state takes care of mainly the majority of the state takes care of the normal matters.
Yeah, I mean that was I I hate this whole idea of like church and state should be divided because that's like the way it never was in like the
Well, that's not
traditional
what the
history.
founders thought. They thought there should be never an official state religion because there was a lot of religious diversity in the U.S. So they didn't want to say we are officially Protestant. We are officially. No one could agree on the exact definition of what version of a Christianity it should be. America is a Christian country.
It's just a very Protestant Christian country of many different sects. Um, and but it's like the whole like liberal notion of the division of church and state. It's like that's only something that really came around in like the 1600s because most of the time the church was intertwined with the state because like the king was crowned by a bishop and that's how things went because he was crowned by the church because he's given the authority by God in his church to rule.
Yeah, I mean another thing is a lot of like the early like liberal scholars used Christianity as a justification of rights. I mean, I think John Neville Figgis actually goes into it in his book Divine. He does Divine Right of Kings. Is that it's actually easier to argue with modern liberals because they don't believe in God and they don't believe the rights come from God. It just makes the argument weaker.
Mm-hmm.
And something we got into last time is I really wanted to go more into is we were talking about how like the Catholics ended up mainly on the Democrats a Democratic voting bloc.
Yeah, which I honestly wish we would just make our own. Like, if we could organize politically, we could be our own party and have several seats in, say, Congress and stuff. but because we were such a minority, like I know, like you said, Orthodox are like the minority of the minority, but Catholicism was still a minority, and it was more visible, I would say, than Orthodoxy because the Protestants they revolted against us, and that's why you saw a bunch of anti-Catholic hysteria in the United States. So naturally, the Catholics had to gravitate towards the party that would advocate for their defense, which unfortunately became the Democratic Party, and that's why a bunch of Catholics were enticed by that party, and why you see a bunch of the establishment politicians in the Democratic Party today are unfortunately like I call them heretic Catholics, and like they're like atheist Catholics essentially. They don't truly believe in the faith, but they pay it lip service to keep their Catholic voting blocks.
Yeah. I mean that would be the American Catholic Party.
the American Phalange.
The American Phalangist Party.
I would gladly join that party in a heartbeat if we could politically organize. But also another thing is like in the United States, like we've been so indoctrinated to believe that we shouldn't organize politically around religion, and I mean like
You know,
the quote unquote right will say, well, we need to rally around the Constitution like it's a divine document, and then the left will say, I mean, they'll make a lot more justifications than conservatives, but they'll say we need to continue progress at any cost, and that's
I
our
mean,
sacred duty.
they really don't believe in progress. I mean, unless you consider progress hedonism. Like America technologically really hasn't progressed that. I mean, we somewhat, but really most of the technology we're currently using was developed by a bunch of certain type of a bunch of Germans. Bunch of Germans.
A bunch of mid-century German scientists.
Yeah. A fair bit of it's from the British as well, though.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I'm never acknowledging that guy. He did not create the internet. He created the web page, which is part of the internet, but the protocols for the internet were created by Donald Keck and one other guy who also helped create modern fiber optics.
I was mainly talking about Turing's universal machine.
Oh yeah, Alfred Turing did create that, but the original real computer was created by the Greeks, the Ethereum mechanism.
Hey, imagine if we tried to play Hoi 4 on the on those.
See, well, we couldn't play Hoi 4 because everyone would be keep trying to create different things. I'd be trying to create I would have to create Orthodox American Legionnarism, and everyone else would be trying to create a Catholic Phalangism.
I mean, like we could get along, Phalangism and Orthodoxy.
Yeah.
Although I'm yet to actually read through Jose Antonio Primo de Rivera's.
I thought it was Jonio Antonio Primo de Rivera. He has a really long name. Like,
well, that's because he's part of the Spanish aristocracy, and if you're part of the Spanish aristocracy, you're going to be reading out a long text for his name.
Wait, I forget if Cadriano was or was not part. He was his father was up as an upper-ranking military. His full name is Cornelius Cadriano.
Was he Spanish?
No, he was Romanian. He's the leader of the Iron Guard.
I wouldn't know what their suffix for aristocracy was. Like, technically, my family was German aristocracy. We would have had von, and our title before that, and then the surname at the end. I think technically we were Freiherrs or Freelords, which were essentially just people that own their own land in Germany.
Yeah.
It's interesting because like in most parts of Europe, like people think like aristocracy, like they think of like French court nobility and stuff, and it's like in reality it was just people that owned the land, and then you did have court aristocracy that were a different stripe of it. But
And also like the Scottish clans are technically a form of aristocracy.
And then you have I forget what we call ourselves when we talk about Kievan clans. It was clans, but we basically got to do whatever we wanted as long as we killed the Turks.
are you talking about like the Cossack
Yeah,
clans?
yep.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
my thing.
I know very little about the Cossacks. I only know a little bit. But they are an interesting group because they're kind of like the cowboys of Russia.
Yeah,
get-
yeah,
you
that's
get
accurate.
we got special privileges in Russia. The only thing we had to do is serve in the military. Is the Russian, I think, light cavalry was the role, or light Russian cavalry force mainly, and light and scout cavalry, and that's why we really were they owed a lot of land, and they were really disliked by the Bolsheviks because we fought for the White Army till the bitter end.
Hmm. Yeah, I love the Cossack uniforms though. Like that's what I love about them. They're fancy. Well, they're interesting Busby hats and those.
Shaska,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
it's a. I actually have. I actually have one sitting next to me. It's the most LARPy thing I ever bought because I'm like only half Ukrainian, but I'm technically a Cossack. I feel the need. Sorry,
Yes. How could I tell? How could you tell that I am a Cossack?
I require this elaborate. Yeah, but it is interesting that a lot of the Catholics never really left the Democratic Party, even though the Democratic Party objectively hates the Catholic Church, but still
Yeah, they
needs their
do.
vote. Like
Mhm.
a lot of these politicians will openly mock the Catholic Church and make Catholic jokes.
Yeah, it
It
is only a LARP if you don't wear it when the weather requires a hat. True.
it's also kind of the same thing in Canada because although largely Catholic population, like Quebec is mostly Catholic, and generally the Liberals do better than the Conservatives in Quebec, but also they have the Bloc there, so
Hmm. I think just a issue, especially for many Catholics in America, like for voting for the quote unquote right wing party in the Republican Party, was just because it was mostly like a lot of the politicians were anti clerical and very anti Catholic, and they were very pro Protestant mentality and kind of viewed us as aliens. So it was kind of like, well, can't really vote for them because they are very hating us in that direction. While then the Democrats are like more subvertly hating on the Catholic Church. So it's like, it's an unfortunate situation. I just still say we should have organized politically.
The American, yeah.
The American Phalange should be a thing, just like in Poland.
I mean, I wouldn't really call. I mean, the Polish far right party. I mean, besides the current party, is actually a coalition of fundamentalist Catholics and actual like paleo libertarians, monarchists, and what happens when when you've convinced yourself that the state that absolutely when you read too much hop and consume too much Pinochet memes, and then you get Cohen Mike, who basically loves capitalism, hates communism, and is convinced that he's accurately convinced that liberals are out to get him because the guy basically constantly got arrested during the he was part of the Polish peaceful resistance movement against communism, kept getting arrested. I mean, if you read quotes from him, he's like, Obama would Obama, like if like Obama would be a plantation manager because he's a smart man. It's just like it's like just it's like there's a picture of him throwing up a Roman salute. We're wearing like this one anti-communist thing. There's a picture of him at an anime convention. I'm like, this guy just he's like 63. He's technically the guy I find. He's my political idol. He's
I know who the guy you're talking about too. I think Carl Benjamin actually did an interview with him like a while back. It was kind of funny.
yeah, he is a funny. He is extremely far right devout, like a Catholic, but
Catholic social teaching and all that. Yeah.
yeah, it's him and the Confederacja Party and the Confederation of the Polish Crown, which is one of the few monarchist parties in Europe that holds power. There's also one in Serbia. And I'm not allowed to talk about Serbia because I don't know if Lavender's watching this, and he's a bit he's about. It's the same reason. It's like Glad Nation's not here because this would be a big argument about him screaming Kosovo is Serbia because I think he's Serbia.
I mean, I'm kind of like agnostic on the Kosovo issue. Besides, it's a Western puppet in Serbia. That's my only opinion on it. But
Look,
it isn't like Serbia also like when they take polling, like it's almost nearly 50% want a restoration of the monarchy there.
Yep. You know, the thing is, people like to talk about Kosovo as Serbia, but no one ever talks about Montenegro being Romania. Like, people like to say all these opinions on Ukraine, but no one ever talks about how the Soviet Union just created Montenegro. Like, it doesn't really exist. If you look at the history, like, this country is literally fake. The Soviet Union created this. This doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally just Romania. It's just a province of Romania.
Yeah, I have no knowledge to argue against that.
I don't think you mean Montenegro.
Sorry, Moldova.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Montenegro.
Montenegro is, I think, it's also Orthodox as well. But they're really similar spelling. And as an American, I reserve the right to be terrible at European geography.
And
I was just like Montenegro. I was like, I really don't know the historical claim if there really is, so I'm just gonna stay out of it.
it gets with Moldova, it gets even deeper because then you have Transnistria, which is pretty much just created by Russia.
Yeah, Russia likes to do this thing where it creates a bunch of fake autonomous zones and just so it can steal random parts of people's country. They tried it with the Georgians. The Georgians didn't have any of it and just rolled tanks over them and just told them to screw off.
So I still maintain though I still maintain independence for Tanatuva.
Tanatuva. Remind me where that is.
Just north of Mongolia.
Oh yeah, that nation Hoi 4 that doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's like handed by the Soviets in the 30s.
Yeah.
Look, I don't like China also, so I'm just gonna say the Greater Mongolia is we're bring back the Khanate, Greater Mongolia.
I also want to bring back the Qing dynasty guys.
No.
Yeah.
The Qing was lame. No Qing dynasty. We're bringing back the crazy.
The Ming?
The Ming.
No. Who were the crazy ones who thought the guy thought he was Jesus?
Oh,
the God, I used to know this war off the top of my head.
Yeah, basically
the Taiping Rebellion.
Yeah, I don't know why Russia didn't back the Taiping Rebellion. I mean, they were both Orthodox. I mean, we would have fully never accepted that guy as legitimate. But
Hung Ji-Quin.
I'm
butchering that name.
Yes, yeah. Guys, I am the brother of Jesus Christ. It's like, okay, buddy.
Well, the thing is, that's why people like to say about China is like the Mao's Great Leap Forward. Look, even if you fully taught that, the Chinese wouldn't care. Like, if you look at how many people die in some of these wars, it's like 60 million people.
That's chump change for China.
Yeah, it's like you look at the Mongol conquest. It was like 10 million. The Taipei Rebellion was 10 million. It's just the China has always had just massive wars, with mass casualties. So
Well, to them, it's like they've always been this breadbasket of a region, so they've always had a very high but stable population too. Like they didn't. It's kind of like Egypt. Like Egypt, even like to the days of Moses, had only about like 2 million people for most of their history until recently, where it's exploded. In fact, like even when Napoleon invaded Egypt, it was only 2 million people, like it was historically. China was kind of the same way, where it supported like hundreds of millions of people. So to them, like they see numbers and like way higher than us when they like mass armies and when what they see is a true tragedy in
yeah, you'd
terms of
have to kill
population.
at least like 200 million people for anybody in China to notice.
Yeah, like China, where even the most mundane of accidents is a mass casualty event.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, like that's the whole thing. Is like India and China have always been very populous. Like Europe is actually always been very sparsely populated. Like Russia used to be considered a large population, and Russia's population never went over like 200 million.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speaking of Russia, I would support them annexing Transnistria if it was the Tsardom of Russia.
Look, it's like Finland not liking Russia. I'm like, you guys are just like, hey, Russia's losing the war now. Hey, we can totally get Karelia back.
There was this great Hoi 4 mod called Finlandia, where you could just bring back the Romanovs and you could get cores on all the Soviet Union. It was such a fun game, and
No. I was watching this guy play Hoi 4, and somehow you could make the King of Poland a Romanov. I'm like, I don't think that would ever work.
I mean, the Romanovs did claim to be king of Poland, so I guess I don't know.
Yeah, but like
It's one of those wacky event trees, though.
it's like, but you would get your like the Catholic and like Romanov. We had the same issue in the 1600s. The Romanovs nearly put the Romanovs weren't originally the Tsar's house. They were backing the Polish king at the time to be Tsar, but he wouldn't convert to Orthodoxy. So they reread history to say we always didn't like the Polish influence in Russia.
I mean that's it's kind of funny, but I would say most of the Romanov emperors were pretty Chad. For talking about emperors of Russia.
Well, it's
Um,
funny actually. Nicholas II. A lot of people look. It's like, oh, he's really tall. It's like, no, he was actually quite short for a Romanov. He was only 5'7".
mhm.
He's
Yeah, what wasn't his father like six something?
6'3". Peter the
Yeah,
Second was Peter the Third was 6'3".
yeah, and didn't they say they also like he got his shortness from his mother or something?
He fully did. All the Romanovs, like he still had a masculine look, but he was a lot shorter than like I think there's like a picture with his daughters and he's sitting down because they're taller than him.
Mm.
Like the Grand Duchess was Duchess. The Grand Duchesses were taller than their father was because he was quite short. He was short. Like that is small for Romanov. Like a Romanovs were always like a lot of the Russian aristocracy were always very, very imposing people. Like
Y- you-
Ivan the Powerful. He was like 6'5".
hmm.
Even the German aristocracy. I think Peter the Great was like 6'2".
Oh yeah. I think I may get corrected on this, but I think Ludwig II of Bavaria, he was like I think he was exactly 6 foot. Um, King Louis the 16th in France, he was like 6'2". So like most of these royals, they were
Except
literally
Napoleon. Like, but you know, when I make the video on that, I'm just gonna say screw Bonapartists, French, screw all of the Bonapartists. You
Yeah,
know,
they're too short.
no,
Yeah.
the two, Napoleon is a midget, and two, he was a massive douchebag who spread liberalism. So screw
Yeah.
Napoleon and Bonapartism. We're not.
Yes.
No one. If you're a French monarchist and you support Napoleon, I do not like you. It's all about the House of Orleans. Napoleon's descendants should not be king ever emperors of France.
I'm kind of like neutral. Like at Napoleon III, he was actually like kind of a reactionary monarch, unlike his uncle Napoleon I. So I'm kind of like I'll give some leeway to Napoleon III. Uh,
Yeah, but like Napoleon the First, he was a
yeah,
military genius though. Like Napoleon, you can't deny they modernized the military.
I would give him like he should have been a great marshal underneath the Bourbon dynasty. And that's my stance on him.
Yes, Napoleon was meant to be a general. Still can't conquer Russia. No one can conquer Russia. Well, besides the Mongolians, you gotta be from an equally miserable climate to conquer a country that's just constantly it's either filled with mud and mosquitoes in the summer, filled with ice in the winter, and the people there are all constantly. Well, I mean, they have an alcohol problem. That's really more the Soviet era. A friend of mine who was from Estonia explained it. He said during the Soviet Union, the only thing you could get in large quantities was booze.
What didn't I mean like yeah the didn't the Bolsheviks nationalize like the Romanov monopoly um uh,
Al-
on vodka production?
well, they didn't
Yeah.
have there wasn't a
And
national, technically, vodka producer. There was just one vodka producer that the Romanovs specifically used for basically the royal supplier of vodka.
Yes, we are the imperial house here. Take some vodka, peasants.
Look, sorry, the Russians really like their vodka.
Uh, you know this is just going to be a hypothetical, but if the Romanovs wanted to reconquer Russia using another army, could Russia be conquered then? Because then you theoretically have native support.
What
I-
if the current house?
if a foreign army wanted to bring back the Romanovs and that was their
What?
objective goal for
You
invading
probably
Russia.
would actually. Honestly, there's a lot of monarchists and there's a good bit of monarchists in Russia. You probably also have the Russian far right support who don't like Putin also supporting you,
Hmm.
and Kirill would have basically no choice but to support the Romanov claimant because him saying, "Well, actually, Putin has more legit." Okay, you can't really square that peg if you're the head of the Orthodox Church because the the current Romanov pretender, I forget her name, Grand Duchess. Uh, she actually, funny enough, she actually disavowed the Russian war because the Romanovs technically do. The reason, like, if the Romanovs did rule over modern Russia, there wouldn't be a Ukraine. Ukraine would have never left Russia. If
Hmm.
during the fall of the Soviet Union, the Romanovs retook Russia, Ukraine wouldn't have a problem being part of Russia because the Cossacks swore allegiance. There was one rebellion in the late 1600s,
Hmm.
but after that, most of the Cossacks were part of Russia.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um. I kind of like do that in I'm working on an alternate history series, a series of books, And I actually had like that's how the Germans like conquered the Soviet Union. Was like, yes, we're here to restore the Romanovs, and they got a bunch of Soviet soldiers to like, we're just gonna jump ship.
Yeah, but I don't know. I ran out of things to talk about like an hour ago. So I'll see you later, Darth Killhoon. I gotta go do it. I gotta start getting ready for tomorrow. Gotta get back. Weekend's over. Gotta get back to work.
All right.
I hope everyone has a good week. Let's see. May. Wait, nothing happens in May. Wait, when's May Day? Well, when's the
Today.
Russian? Oh wait. Oh wait. Happy Rush. Wait, when's the Russian New Year? It's in May, or is it just called May Day?
No, May Day is well, in Soviet times is Workers' Day, International Workers' Day.
Okay, fuck that. No, we're not celebrating May Day. Fuck that.
Well, no, May Day itself like goes back centuries. Like it's just a general European springtime festival.
I don't remember what it's for though.
Yeah, 21st century long. Yeah, I don't remember either. But I'll talk to you guys later.